Hello there. Hope you're having a great day. Today I'm going to be talking about the essential keys, 3 essential keys for communication, or how to communicate for connection in your relationship. I regularly hear this working with women, that they're not able to communicate with their partner. They feel like they're doing it all on their own. And what begins to happen is that leaves you with resentment. It leaves you with an emptiness, with a loneliness. And you feel like you're doing so many different things to try and change it. However, nothing's actually changing. Like, you might be encouraging, you might be supporting, you might be trying. And it could be potentially turning into resentment, nagging, just shutting down. You are trying to do lots of things to change this, but nothing significantly is changing. And so, can you relate to any of this? If you can relate to this, I'd encourage you to stay on this Facebook Live, because I live and breathe this stuff. I've worked in this industry for the last 15 years, and I'm seeing a common thread. There's nothing different that I'm seeing. It's the same stuff. You know, women, they want clarity, they want confidence, they want courage, and they want to be in a relationship where their man meets them in that. And so, I won't say so many, because that's a real generalization, but a lot of women are just feeling a lot of resentment because their man isn't meeting them, and they're finding it really, really difficult, you know. And at the end of the day, that resentment, if that doesn't get emptied out, and if you don't get to talk about it and empty it out, you go to sleep land with it, and you wake up with it. Whatever you go to sleep with, you wake up with it. And you know that, because I hear this a lot, and I know this happened for me, you worry, you overthink, and it's on your mind a lot. And it's a concern because you want a connection. You want to be able to communicate with your partner so that you connect. So today I'm going to talk about 3 crucial keys that will really support you and help identify how you can begin doing it differently. It will make a significant difference. And the 3 essential keys permanently to stop people pleasing, because when you're people pleasing, you're constantly looking outside of yourself for that validation outside of yourself, and so it sets up that same cycle, and it creates a lot of pain. The second key I want to talk into is the external dump that you may do, and what I mean by that is you may dump all your stuff on your partner, but you're also judging them, and you're living in idealization how you'd like it to be different, and it's not, and it's pissing you off because nothing is actually changing, and you feel a bit like a mouse on a wheel just going round and round and round. So I want to talk about that so that you can reduce the stress, the confusion, and the overwhelm. And lastly, I want to talk into how you can get in alignment with your authentic self, your true self, because you behaving how you're behaving, you know that it's not life-giving. You know that it's creating you a lot of pain and havoc. So if you are really serious about becoming a happier version of yourself, I'd encourage you to stay on this live. Would love to hear if you're here. Hashtag live or hashtag replay. Any comments along the way, anything that, oh yeah, that really resonates with me, Helen, or actually I disagree with that, Helen, I would love to hear from you. So this is the 3 essential keys to communicate for connection in your relationship. So for a very long time, I was a people pleaser. So I know this really well. And at any cost, I would people please. And the reason that I did that is that I was, for a very large part of my adult life, I was in the survival way of living. My nervous system was just so heightened, and so I could get triggered very easily and go into the fight, flight or freeze. And I'd go into the freeze extremely easily, and I could stay there often for days. And look, it was a trauma response. Not a great response. I wasn't doing it on purpose. I actually couldn't help it due to the trauma that I still had in my body. And so to stop the people pleaser, I had to heal I had to heal my nervous system, but I had to really get in and under my fight and flight, because I would just people please because I didn't want it to be triggered. However, that was so hurting me on so many levels because I wasn't actually being truthful. I wasn't being honest. And I see that in my room, and I've seen that in my room for many, many years. So I've lived it, I've healed it, and I now no longer am a people pleaser, and I am no longer where my nervous system is so hypervigilant. Because when you live that way, you don't want arguments, you don't want confrontation, you people please. Because you won't do anything that's going to trigger that or set that off. And long term, this is slowly killing you. I don't want to be dramatic, but it is. There's a part of you that just disappears. The real you, the authentic you, the part of you that's really real and true and fun and bubbly and big discussion this, and I don't want to go off track. But how do you permanently stop the people pleaser? You have to start regulating your nervous system, and you have to recognize when you are in the survival mode, the fight, flight, and freeze. And so it's beginning to heal that. That is my essential key. That's my number one. My number two is, actually, let's go back a bit. Another thing in being able to move that people pleaser is to be able to be still long enough to notice if you have been triggered, and to be able to recognize it, to be able to drop into the body and recognize that your nervous system is up. And so that is absolutely crucial, because you will stop people pleasing. Because you will be able to be honest, because you'll be able to regulate and emotionally regulate your emotions and your nervous system. So my number two is we have to be able to shift from being externally focused to internally focused. So what I mean by this is you've got to stop looking outside of yourself, and you've got to start looking inwardly. You've got to be able to bring it back to yourself. And I'll bring it back to myself for this example, is for a very large part of my adult life, I have looked outside of myself. I almost had a sixth sense, in that it's just working out where are you? What are you feeling? What are you thinking? How much of me can I let out? I was very much like a chameleon, and I just judged the temperature of the room, of my partner at the time, to just check how much of me I could communicate. If it wasn't quite right, or if he wasn't quite right, then I would pull me back in. Now, long term, what does that do? Again, you are dependent on outside of yourself. So you're a bit like a roller coaster. You're a bit like a puppet on a string, and you're on the string and the puppeteer is pulling the puppet. You aren't actually living to the beat of your own drum. It's all outside of yourself, and gosh, that hurts you long term. And I see that with the women that I work with. They talk about, I'm just trying to please him. I'm just trying to make him happy. What's wrong with that, Helen? There is nothing wrong with that. But when you solely live that way, you're dependent on that outside of yourself. So your self-worth and your self-esteem is dependent on how your partner is, and the place that they're in, and how well received they're taking whatever you're talking to them. But that does hurt you long term, because you're always looking outside of yourself. And so at times you can feel quite powerless, because if you're not making your partner happy, then it's very difficult for you to be happy. So the key from this is a shift from being everything outside of yourself and being internally. And what begins to happen when you can bring it internally is that when you are making decisions, you will check in with your own body. So I know for myself, when I'm making decisions, it's got to come from the head, the heart, and the gut. So let's go to the gut first. You know, when something's a bit off, your gut speaks volumes. Now, you may numb that out. You might numb it out with being really busy. You might numb it out with alcohol, with being on social media, by just anything outside of yourself, gambling, porn, there's many ways that we look outside of ourselves to not be connected into our body. But our gut lets us know if things are a bit off. But if we are externally outside of ourselves, we're not going to notice when our gut's speaking to us. And so when you begin to slow down, when you begin to let go of some of these addictions, now addictions just numb us. Addictions are here so that we don't have to be with ourselves. But when you can start connecting with that gut, your gut speaks to you. It's profound. And then the heart, the feelings, and allowing yourself to feel it. So when a strong feeling comes in, being able to recognize, okay, what is it I am feeling? When I'm coaching a client, it is about stopping, about being able to go into the body, and for that client to recognize what's here and to feel it in the body. Okay, I'm actually feeling quite anxious. Well, where in the body are you feeling that? Okay, I'm feeling it in the gut. Okay, I just want you to be with that. Stay with it. What shape is there? Oh, it's a big circle. Okay, and if the circle had a colour? Oh, it's black. It's black. It's this big black circle. And it's in your gut and you can feel it. And then the emotions that are connected to that. I'm really anxious. I feel nervous. I feel really nervous. And so what I do is I coach people to coach themselves so that you can start emotionally regulating yourself, so that if you are wanting to be able to communicate for connection in your relationship, it's being able to have that connection with yourself first. You're not looking outside of yourself to get anything from your partner. You have that within yourself. If your partner is able and in that headspace and in that space to be able to be there for you, lovely. But if they're not, you don't get triggered. You don't topple down. You're actually able to regulate yourself. And so a lot of the work that I do is being able to bring it back to your head, your heart, and your gut, and trust it. Being able to trust that inner voice. And your body lets you know exactly where you're at and what you're feeling. So that would be my second, really shift from being externally focused and start coming back into internally focused. And my number 3 is being able to identify when you are out of alignment with your authentic self. And how do you do that? It really segues off the number 2 and shifting from externally focused to internally focused, is that you need to be able to tap into the silence. And for a lot of you, you may freak out with that. I did. When I started my inner journey, I friggin' freaked out. I never wanted silence. I'd always have something blaring in my ears or looking at something so I didn't have to be with myself. I didn't know how to pause and how to listen to my inner world and my inner self. So if you are wanting to be able to communicate for connection in your relationship, you've got to be able to do that with yourself first, and to be able to connect with yourself, because there's going to be a shift in you when you're not pursuing your partner for them to meet your emotional needs, when you're not looking outside of yourself for your partner to give you your sense of worth and your self-esteem, the relationship changes. You're in the relationship because you don't need them. It's because you want to be with them. It's a very different dynamic. And you play, and there's desire, and there's there's closeness and there's connection, but there isn't a neediness. You're not pursuing them. You're not carrying anything over from the day before, the week before, the month before, or friggin' 5 years ago when he betrayed on you. It's here now, in the present, and what is here right now. And there's no expectation of how you would like your partner to turn up. You've let that go. And it's coming from a place of total acceptance. There's an acceptance of yourself, and there's also an acceptance of your partner. And I can tell you, it is a different ball game. So when you can identify when you are out of alignment with yourself, that is going to help you enormously. So what I mean by that is, so I do a lot of work, values work, because when we know what our top values are, it's like a compass. Our values let us know when we are on course. You may feel like you're a bit out in the ocean with no rudder. You don't know where you're going. When you know particularly what your top 3 values are, you then, when you make decisions, they will be in alignment with your values. And it's a game changer. If you're relating to this, I'd love to hear from you. Live hashtag or replay hashtag. What is your top value? Your top 3 values? Has values been a game changer for you? If you are able to work with your own values and know what your values are, you then will know how to communicate for connection. You're not communicating for anything else, for a void in you, for a wound in you. You're not looking for any of that from your partner. You're actually looking for a connection because you are able to give that to yourself. Look, I could talk about this all day. I'm extremely passionate about it. But look, if this is speaking to you and you go, oh, okay, I like the sound of that, Helen. If you would like, I can send to you a values-based life. So direct message me, I will send it to you. In this values-based life, I talk about, so it's a Google Doc, it's a brilliant doc in that it's going to help you begin to identify particularly top 3 values and what does a values-based life look like? Why have a values-based life? What is in it? What is in it for me? Let me get my words out. Values-based life, I know for many clients is a game changer, but for me personally, huge. And I live my life from a values-based life. Every single decision I make, but I used to be known as a flip-flopper. I couldn't make decisions. I was so indecisive. I never stuck to it. I would get so overwhelmed. And it's just, not a great place to be in. So message me and I will send that through to you. And I know time is running out, these lives. I just love bringing these lives to you. But if we recap, because there's a little bit in this, I've talked about the essential keys to communicate for connection in your relationship. So it's bringing it back to yourself. Your number 1 is stopping the people pleaser, being able to speak with honesty, with clarity, being able to be courageous, and to be able to do that where your nervous system is calm. That's your number 1. Number 2 is moving from an external dump to an internal, and where you can have honest, open communications with yourself, and then you will be able to do that with your partner, and you're not looking for that sense of self-worth outside yourself. That's a big one. And my last one is being able to tap into the silence. So being able to identify when you are out of alignment with yourself, and you need to know what your values are to be in alignment with yourself. So look, on that note, if there's anything that has spoken to you, pop it in the comments, because you're not alone. I do a inner circle, and in our group inner circle coaching. The women get so much, what's the word? Connection, community, clarity, working with other women. And it's quite profound, the shifts that you can have working in a community. But look, if that speaks to you, direct message me and I can tell you a bit more about that. But anyway, on that note, you know what? The power of change is within you. See ya.